Hello everybody! Welcome to Kevin Plays Disc Golf. Today we have a video showing the short baskets from the short tees at the Hollow South in Manchester, New Hampshire. My name is Kevin and I play disc golf. Filming on course for this video was done on May 11th, 2025. The course originally opened in 2018. This is a shortened version of my full playthrough for the Hollow South with the long baskets, link in the description. This is a brief view of the baskets from the tees along with a few minor considerations that are specific to the short baskets, a few course updates that have taken place, and the seasonal change in conditions from last fall. Directions to the course and all of the park rules are in the full Hollow South video. I'll have my thoughts on the differences between the basket locations of the course at the end of the video. Post your comments as to your thoughts of what you think of the short basket locations compared to the longs. We'll go directly to the first tee to see how the course for the short baskets look.
Hole 1 on the south course from the short pin is a 200-foot par 3, dead straight ahead. The creek behind the basket is out of bounds. If you remember, the long pin is across that creek, but the short pin, just a 200-foot shot, slightly downhill, check up to get to the basket. Hole 2 is a 373-foot par 3 to the short basket. It is straight ahead. We can see the basket off the tee, sort of between these two smaller trees on the left that are in the fairway. Again, the big threat here is we do not want to kick right into the river, because if we kick right before the second of those small trees, it is very likely that we're going to lose a disc there. Something else to note here about the fairway of hole 2 is that yes, we are looking at the fairway short. It is very wet on the left side, so this is the first place I've run into so far where there's been significantly more water than I saw last fall. Hole 3 is a 194-foot par 3 to the short pin, dead straight ahead. There is OB left, but it is kind of tough to get all the way over left. But again, here from the tee, we can see the pin and it's kind of go straight at it. We don't want to go too long or we're going to end up in the nasty brush. Hole 4 is a 266-foot par 3 to the short pin. We can see the basket peeking out from just behind the right side of that cluster of trees in the center of the fairway. Hole 5 to the short pin is a 200-foot par 3, significantly uphill, dogleg right. We can see the basket peeking out from behind the trees. If we look at those two trees that are off in the distance, we can see the basket peeking out to the left side of the rightmost one. The big thing here, we do not want to go long, we do not want to go left, otherwise we're going to end up way down in the gorge. Hole 6 to the short baskets is a 208-foot par 3, dead straight ahead. Again, the big thing here is you do need to get it at least up onto that second tier to stay in bounds, and ideally up on that third tier to get close to the basket. Hole 7 to the short pin is a 310-foot par 3, straight ahead. The basket is just on the other side of the second out of bounds creek. We can see the basket from the tee if we look very carefully. There are the two pine trees right next to each other, kind of on the left side of the fairway. We can see the basket between those two large pine trees off in the distance. Here at the creek on hole 7, the second creek. Now, when I played this last fall, this creek was basically totally dry. And now it is flooded enough so that the out of bounds lines are actually underwater. I believe the out of bounds lines are just on the other side of this set of logs on this side, and they're more or less in line with the end of the bridge on the other side. So there is much more water here than there was previously. To the short pins, hole 8 is a 240-foot par 3, straight ahead. Again, tunnel shot, just not nearly as far as the tunnel shot for the long tee. You can just see it straight ahead. If you can throw a 240-foot shot dead straight, this is the hole for you. The short pin for hole 9 is a 231-foot par 3. We are just to the left of the tee because on the tee itself you cannot see the basket. From here, if we look straight through the big cluster of trees, we can see the basket off in the distance. So it is straight ahead and again amongst the trees. Hole 10 to the short pin is a 252-foot par 3. It is a little bit left to right. We can see the pin off the tee through this little gap just to the left of this large tree in front of us and to the right of the smaller trees in the background, but the main path is going to be going left to right on this one. Something else to note here on hole 10 is that the ground is very mushy right in front of the tee pad. Hole 11 on the south course to the short basket is a 230-foot par 3, dead straight ahead. Not a whole lot to this one except for throw it in the basket. Hole 12, here with the basket is in the short position. We can see the basket if we look to the right of the large pine tree on the other side of the hill, about halfway up the hill. The basket is just to the right of that. This is a 249-foot par 3, and just like the basket in the long position, we need to get about 175 feet or so to clear the creek and get inbounds on the other side. Hole 13 at the Hollow South is 209 feet, and we can see it's straight ahead. The one thing to note here is that there is a severe drop-off straight down if you do not get it far enough. So it's actually better to be left and long rather than right or short because of how steep the drop-off is there. Distance control is pretty critical on this hole. Directional control is also important. Something to note about this gully before the basket on the short tee is it is about 8 feet from the bottom of the gully to the top. If you end up short, you're going to end up with a very much uphill putt. And if we end up going way left, we can see there's a trail there and the gully, which is going to make things very difficult. I ended up short, way right, and I'm just behind that large tree there for my third shot. Hole 14 to the short pin is a 273-foot par 3, straight ahead. However, the ground does slope very steeply from left to right. Still, if anything, it may come even into play a little bit more here than on the long tees because the basket is on the right side gap. If we see that sort of split of trees right down the middle, we can see the basket in the right hand gap up there. So I think ideally the play for me is go through the left gap and have it skip to the right a little bit. I'm pretty sure I almost hit that turkey on my drive off the tee. I threw my tee shot and the turkey kind of jumped up and fluttered away right from the area my disc went. Well, there's a second one over there. So one of the turkeys. I almost got 2 turkeys on the same hole. Hole 15 on the south course is a 167-foot par 3, dead straight ahead. Not much to this one, just straight ahead, and this is an ace run hole. The short pin at hole 16 is a 300-foot par 3. It is still significantly downhill. It looks like they've removed one of the major trees that was in the way from the last time I was here when I did the walkthrough to the long baskets. I'll have to double check that against the original footage, but we can see the basket in the distance. It is much shorter. It is short of the swampy area. If we look at the third large pine tree from the right, and then there's another tree that is leaning to the right that sort of forms a gap where it gets narrower to the top, kind of like a tuning fork. The basket is directly in that direction between the 2 smaller trees off in the distance. The short pin on hole 17 on the south course is a 185-foot par 3. Straight ahead, we are a little bit to the right of the basket. If we see the main gap straight ahead, we can see the basket in the smaller gap off in the distance just to the left of that gap. Hole 18 to the short basket is a 336-foot par 3. Not much difference in distance between the short and the long basket on this one. The big difference is the short basket is shorter across the creek, although it is further left, so it's a little bit more difficult to get there. Here at hole 18, there is a new bridge. The bridge on the left is much more secure than the bridge on the right was. Although it looks like the bridge on the right is still usable, given the placement of this, there's no reason to use it. So, bridge on the left, much better option now.
There have been some upgrades to the course that affect both the short and long baskets. Most notably, there have been a few bridges added that are more secure than the bridges they replaced. I believe there may have been some underbrush that has been taken out as well, but I'm not sure if that has actually happened or if it's just that the New Year's underbrush has not grown in yet. Seasonally, there is much more water on several of the holes, most notably on holes 2, 7, 16, and 17. On these holes as well as others, there are plants growing in the swampy areas that make finding a disc that goes there much more difficult. I lost a disc on the marsh at the bottom of the hill off the right side of the fairway of hole 16 and gave up after searching for it for about 20 minutes. Thanks to the person that texted me that they had found it later that week. The thumbnail of this video is the green for hole 18. This shows the short basket location, one of the new bridges, the old bridge, and the plants growing in the creek that make it difficult to find discs. Comparing the short baskets to the long baskets, hole 13 is the only one where the basket location might be more challenging than the basket location of the long pin. Hole 2 objectively has the highest change in difficulty, but though the hole is easier than it was before, being 138 feet shorter, it has changed from a 511-foot par 4 to a 373-foot par 3. The overall feel of the course didn't change much from playing the long baskets to the short baskets. All of the holes had most of the same concerns and things that you need to watch out for and be careful of, regardless of the basket location. The biggest change is that there are fewer blind shots, as you can see all of the short baskets from within a few feet of the tee, so it's easier to see when your shot bounces off a tree and heads into a location where it cannot be recovered from. This makes overall course navigation significantly easier than the long basket locations on many holes for someone playing the course for the first time. The big question I have here is, what is the target audience for the short basket locations compared to the long basket locations? This course has many shots that require significant precision, and a shot that is slightly off target may end up lost, and this characteristic does not change with the change in basket location. For most people that would want to play a shorter course configuration, the north course is adjacent to the south course and is a more fun option. On the day I filmed the on-course portion of the video, I played the full 36-hole loop of the north course from the short tees and the south course to the short baskets. The biggest difference for the short basket locations is that I didn't use my mid-range distance discs nearly as often. A 75 to 100-foot approach shot to a 15-foot par putt doesn't feel nearly as rewarding for most of the short basket locations as a 125 to 150-foot approach to a 25-foot putt does in the longer basket locations. Aside from it being 18 different holes, or because that's the course that the tournament is being held on, I'm not sure who would rather play the south course with the short basket locations than the north course. Like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you aren't left with a hollow feeling after playing this course configuration. Check out my other video linked here, or with the link to the full playthrough and course review of the Hollow South with the long basket locations in the description.